Howdy. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to create a new sensor. Now this one is by far the hardest to complete, simply because of the number of things that have to be done to add a new sensor. So what we're going to do is first start off just by looking at our current GUI, and we're going to take all of our backgrounds and simply expand them to account for a new sensor. And what I'm going to be doing is just simply adding another temperature sensor just out of ease. This temperature sensor doesn't actually exist on the board that we have, but this is simply more of an example's sake. So first we're going to go to the block diagram, and it's best to start at the far left. So we're going to have to first create a new sensor, a set of variables. So this is control and dragging, just simply because it's a better type of copy and paste than the normal copy and paste. So we've created two new variables, the sensor type for sensor 9 and the sensor data for sensor 9. So we're simply going to go right, and it's best to follow the code whenever doing a change like this. That way you don't miss anything. So the write and read acknowledgements will simply stay the same. For this next bit, however, we will have to change a few things. First, following the code, we're going to change the read count to account for 2 new bytes. This will change our break limit, so we're simply going to change the read count to 21. And it is best to set this to the new current default, just for future, to not accidentally reset the defaults or close it without saving. And now going back to the block diagram, the first thing that has to be changed is the data will come through this string byte and be set to an array. We'll have to change this cluster size though for the array, so we'll simply right click and get cluster size and change this to 21. So that has added 2 new bytes to the bottom. So we're going to first break the line for the stop byte, as it is now changed. And we're going to attach the last byte to the stop byte. Now then, we're going to have to make some room here for the next 2 new bytes. So if you hold Control while you're clicking, you can drag down new space like this. And now we're simply going to once again Control drag these 2 areas here. These are just local variables. You can also find them by searching up variable. And you see local variable right here. So we're going to take in these 2, and we're first going to change them to the appropriate sensor, and then connect the wire. It's best not to cross lines, just to avoid confusion. So we've now added the new sensor to the cluster byte. We can move to the right, and normally, depending on what you're actually going to add, you can make any type of sensor that is available to you. Like I said, we're simply going to be taking the temperature for ease sake. So right now we're going to have to make a little bit more room. Once again, holding Control, we're going to add some more room. And we're going to take this ambient temperature and we're going to copy it. and simply call it new temp. And since we're on node 1, we're going to go ahead and add a 1 to the end of these. And this will allow for easier copying later. And we simply have to change this sensor to the correct data now. So now that that's been added, what we can do is simply copy this, but not a simple copy. What we're actually going to do is, once again, control and drag. This will allow for an easier change. It seems I did miss the bottom wire though, but it is a simple connection. Alright, and now we're simply going to go to the other cases for our nodes. And add these in. As you can see, they already have the appropriate number at the end. But the switch did not update fully correctly. As you can probably notice, there is some gaps here that we don't necessarily need. You can hit Control-Alt to reduce space. Sorry, my computer just slowed down a bit there. But yes, you can hit Control-Alt to reduce space, like this. Alright, now that the new sensor has been added, we can go to the front panel where they've shown up. And we can have them to their new locations, as well as some functions that have come available as well. With these three, we can simply just hide them. Now then, that is created. This are from earlier, the two variables for the sensors. You can notice them quite easily if they're there, due to the fact your bars will be longer than they should. But now it's corrected for. Okay, so now we have our new sensor on our front panel, and this will create the data showing up here, but we still have to account for the Excel save file. So we'll go to the back. As you notice, here is our save Excel, which I've discussed in an earlier video. So our first task for this is we're going to have another variable for our new temperature. So this is new temp 1, but you simply cannot just take this and add it into the existing Excel file. First, we will have to create a variable for this in the Excel file. So very quickly, I'll show you how to do this. we're simply going to extend this by 1 and create an indicator for it. Sorry, a control for it. And we'll call this element new temp. As well as create a column name for it. On the front panel of the save to Excel file here, we simply just have to map the new temp to an output. This can be done by right-clicking or left-clicking on the top right here. As you can see, the dot I just clicked turned black. And now I can link it to a output, and it is now linked. So we will save this. And on our new Excel file, you'll notice the new output is called new temp. So we can take this and simply connect it. Now I'm going to save this by control copying over, so I can add it to the other two saves to Excel. And you simply have to do the correct variable. And now we're reading that new temperature and then saving it to the Excel file. And that's simply it. Everything else here we can just double check, will not be affected by it. And you should be able to run your program with a completely new sensor.